Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Thank you for joining me once again for one of these Magic the Gathering reviews. And review, that is right. This is not going to be a standard box opening. This is going to be the Secret Lair review. But you might be thinking, I thought that there hasn't been any recently. And you would be right. I am trying to get caught up with some different openings or reviews that I have done. I've also gotten some products that have previously been released and opening them up, but this one I've actually had for many, many months and I just never got around to doing it. So I will show you the all-important portion of this, which is the Secret Lair pencil drop. Now, yes, very, very strange. And I believe that even when I got some other stuff, I got another Secret Lair pencil, which has, I think you might be able to see it here, part of the logo just was never printed on with that I and R. So like it is here, as well as the symbol. Part of the symbol is cut off, but most of the symbol is there. But yeah, it was just like, hey, I got this and I never ended up doing it. Mostly, I think, because it was a small drop. It came with 5 different secret lairs. It came with a commander precon deck that they made, and that was it. Like, they had some extra stuff which I will be getting into, but I was like, there's not a whole lot of stuff here, so I ended up pushing in a couple of extra things. Like, there was a Flower Power Chaos Vault, as well as the Extra Life Secret Lair that they did with all of the claymation stuff. So I decided, hey, I'll put all of those together and essentially get caught up with Secret Lair. And that's essentially what I'm going to be trying to do here. Once Lorwyn Eclipse comes out, I will be doing that. But in between January and March being when the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles set comes out, not super excited for that one. But between those two, there's nothing in February, and I'm all caught up with the openings and reviews. So that's when I'm going to be going back to look at some stuff that I had previously opened, that I had previously purchased, or just had never been able to get to. And now that I have the chance, I can actually go back and look at some stuff that I had gotten previously or I had missed entirely and be able to go through. So this is going to be the first of those ones there. It'll be broken up by things like Lorwyn Eclipse, new secret lairs that might come out, which there has been announced a new one that will be coming out. So when that does, I'll be able to do it. Strangely enough, it was Fallout themed again, based off of the show, instead of Lorwyn Eclipse themed, even though we've been kind of getting a secret lair based off of a new set release every time there has been one. So that's been a little bit weird, but we'll see how things go going forward. But here, we're going to be looking at pencil drop first coming up, starting off with this. I don't know how to pronounce this. Keeps, Where the Music Matters there. So I believe that this is going to be a land distribution, and it is, yes, this one. So glad that they're doing the paper there so I can recycle. And I don't know if it's just because these are older, like they're very easy to open up there. So that's a bit strange there, but hey, if that's how it's going to be, it's how it's going to be. But we're going to take a look at all of these there. Of course, reviewing over to see, hey, maybe now that it's months later, are these worth the price of what they were purchased at there? So they're going to have a couple of each of the lands here, starting with this Plains. And it looks like we're having a bit more of that kind of not down lifestyle, not farmer lifestyle, but like slow and cozy one there. You can see a couple of banjos in the background there. You've got the logo there of the KEXP. You've got the window looking out, or at least a shutter of the window in the shape of the planes symbol, or it could just be a backdrop there, and you just got a little band going on. It does look a little bit barn-like just because of the red doors that you see on the right there, and large space there, big rug in the center. It looks like they might be doing a little bit of some sort of line dance or square dance there, but it's a decent enough land, and it does come, of course, with 2 of each. Coming up next with islands here, we get a little bit more of that, I'd probably say closer to a reggaeton vibe there, but I do see more guitars and saxophones, trombones, trumpets there. So it might be a little bit closer to more Beach Boy music, not quite reggaeton, but more of that island music, because I do see a couple of like bongos and a couple of different percussion instruments back there that would kind of imply more of that beach style. Not that the scenery would give that away or anything, but having the little water symbol up on the roof there, on the underside of the roof, to kind of show things off. It's tilted back to take care of any rain that might be coming down in that direction there, but kind of giving a nice symbol there. So nice island as well. These aren't my favorite lands per se, but I still think that they give off a nice cozy vibe. Swamp, yep, definitely getting into a more of like a grunge heavy metal type of deal. It's much dirtier. It's in a smaller location, a basement, and it's not a finished basement at that. It's got the wiring exposed there. The light is just hanging from the ceiling like that. You've got an outlet showing up on the ceiling. Lots of stuff plugged into extension cords. Let's see here. You got the big mana symbol just posted up in the back, kind of like you would have as a band logo. And on the kind of the middle to the right-hand side, you can see a lot of that foam for sort of the music there to try to absorb some of it so it doesn't go as much outside. And in between that foam and the mana symbol there, you can see a tiny little window that outlooks on it there. So I think that I like the island better, but I think that this encompasses the type of music a whole lot more. I still think that the island does pretty good. The plains, being more farmer plains, working out in the plains is good. I don't think any of these are bad there. And we've got mountain going off into like a big rock show there because it's a lot of passion, a lot of emotion, kind of things that vibe really well with red. It's got a disco ball, but this does not look disco. It's got a lot of computers and whatnot there. So this is actually probably more like a DJ booth here playing out. I wouldn't have really expected that for red there. I probably would have done more of just rock in general. But, they can have whichever style that they want. I just think that technology is more of a blue thing and not quite as much of a red kind of mechanic there. So still good, still really nice artwork there. And last up, we're getting a little bit of forest. Looks like in some sort of cafe or just a plant shop in general. And, having more of that indie music, folk music, if you would. Being surrounded by a lot of plants, having the solo acoustic guitar, having the seat and the microphone right there so that the person can just be playing as they're singing. I think that this one encapsulates it very, very well. As just another one there. You've got the little Keeps logo in the bottom right-hand corner. You've got coffee cups on those little tables there, which I don't see any chairs, so it looks like standing. Yeah, just looks like a little coffee shop that someone might be playing. And it looks like we are going to have an extra card here. I am hoping that it's going to be the same. It is. Yep, it's just going to be a little command tower there. Doing more of a, I'm assuming, more of like a scrap heap makeshift radio broadcasting tower there, or just a place to, I see big sirens there, so it could just be blasting out music or warning signs from there, but I would like to imagine that it's more of a radio station with all of the different types of music that we saw going on in the different lands there, to try to broadcast to a lot of different people, but definitely in a much more urban setting, since we see all of the telephone wires there and electrical wires to get there, lights, propane tank there. Yeah, probably my least favorite of the lands, just because, it doesn't fit a necessary theme like the other ones were going to, but, it's still a decent command tower in and of itself. Always can use more command towers. You got at least 2 colors in your color identity, which I think most decks do. It certainly helps out. So keeping up with that crossover there, we're going to have this keeps whatever it's called, you are not alone. Now, so the big thing about it with these is, since it is so far out of the way of when they were initially released, I really don't remember anything of what is going on with these. Now, I do remember a few things, but they are not going to be as encapsulating as I would should I be opening these up as soon as they get delivered to me, because, I will have looked ahead of time at some of the different items that are included in it. Sometimes I want to be a little bit more spoiler free. Sometimes I don't, because, I want to see, hey, is it worth it to maybe get another one? Do I think that it's going to be worth something? Or is there a powerful card that I'm like, I want more of those for a deck there? But starting off with the other portion of the crossover, we're going to have a little bit of cultural exchange. My goodness, that is super colorful. Like, those are really nice colors too. The pinks, the varying shades of dark blue, light blue, the yellows. It's a feast for the eyes. That is very, very beautiful artwork there. 4 double blue, cultural exchange. Sorcery, choose any number of creatures target player controls. Choose the same number of creatures another target player controls, and those players exchange control of those creatures. I could see this going very well in a Zedru deck or any other blue deck that incentivizes your opponents having stuff. Now, unfortunately, I know that there's like an Iroh, I believe it's Iroh T-Master that we've seen from the Avatar set that I think deals very heavily with also having your opponent's own stuff from you. And you're generally exchanging food tokens there because that's what it produces and it doesn't give a whole lot of value. But, if you've got another blue source that deals with you wanting other people to have a lot of your stuff there, you could also do this if you've got a detrimental creature. You could use this to exchange it to an opponent there who might not appreciate it, but, it seems decent. Up next, very different artwork on this one here. Not quite as much a fan of this one. I can see, it's folio of fancies. It's a notebook there, but, it's got the hand, but a lot of the kind of graffiti. I don't exactly know what sort of artwork you would consider that to be, but I don't know. It doesn't seem fanciful to me, but, to each their own. 1 in a blue for an artifact. Players have no maximum hand size. Affects everybody. Double X and tap. Each player draws X cards. And 2 in a blue tap. Each opponent mills cards equal to the number of cards in their hand. So try to make people draw a lot of cards to then have them mill a whole lot of cards. Um, it's really dependent on how you're going to go about this there. I mean, the obvious thing is you put a bunch of mana in this, you make everybody draw a whole bunch of cards there, and then when they have a bunch of cards in their hands, you try to mill them out, try to do something with like Brewvac there to double up the amount of cards that they mill, or try to do some sort of mill synergy, or something in Nekusar, like a slower Nekusar, where you're trying to, instead of wheel them, have them draw a bunch of cards off of this or something. It's not my pick there, but, you know, it is what it is. And a Concordant Crossroads, okay, that's a really, really good one here. Concordant Crossroads, 1 green for a world enchantment. All creatures have haste. You know, it's so cheap because you're also giving all of your opponent's creatures haste as well. And you've got a little orca there playing a boombox for some other non-aquatic animals that have some aquatic equipment on them, kind of like a Sandy Cheeks, because we do have SpongeBob in there, and I mean, we do have a squirrel right here. Squirrel, rabbit, it looks kind of like a dog, and then we've got a raccoon that doesn't have any snorkeling gear on for some reason, but hey, you know, bring them all to the party there. So it looks like this is either like a band or something, since they've got, you know, all music-related stuff here, and you know, more bandy looking stuff here, or maybe they just make art for bands. Rites of Flourishing. I think that this is the one that, no, this is different. And so I would say this one is kind of hard to see it. We've got 2 and a green there. So a little bit difficult to see. I do like the artwork in the center there. It reminds me of something Wave, like Wave Pop, or can't quite remember that, but I really like the designs of that sort of music brand that they have there. But I will say the card is a little bit hard to read. Enchantment, at the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. Each player may play an additional land on each of their turns. Okay, so there's a lot of group hug in this one here. We've got in green and blue, which green and blue seems very heavy into the Miss Bumbleflower archetype there, given everything haste, people draw extra cards, they play extra lands, but I don't think that you get any of the bonus that Miss Bumbleflower would do. I think that you would want to group hug, but give some sort of hurt in some way there. So Rites of Flourishing seems fine. You know, if you've got other ways to go about doing things, you know, I'm going to talk about of course, the Jund-colored Edge of Eternities precon deck, because there are a lot of ways that you could play lands from your graveyard to be like moving them or sacrificing them. So being play another one from your graveyard, or if you don't have in your hand, play 2 from your graveyard. You know, it's certainly an option for you there to do. And final one for this one, before we get to the bonus card, is going to be a little bit of Font of Myths. And we have Artifact on the lip of this card, with 4 as the mana cost that we see there. Let's see here. Meet at the Gathering Space. Okay. Font of Mythos, at the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws 2 additional cards. So it's almost like a super Howling Mine. Now, Howling Mine is 2 mana, and you draw 1, and each player draws an extra card at the beginning of their turn if it's untapped. Now, this one just works if it's tapped or untapped or not. So, you know, Group Hug works with this. I could see this going into Nekusar, though, I mean, I'm wondering if there is something at a higher cost that you would take out to put this in, because there's a lot of low cost that I have in my Nekusar deck that I'm not necessarily looking to move out, just because I want to get more in the vein of treats for my opponents drawing cards, or when I deal damage with something like, Soul Fim is, 4 mana, I believe. I don't think it's 5, it's 4, but I believe it doubles the amount of damage that a red source would do. Cataract Parasite deals, extra damage off of red sources, I believe. You got different things that also have Nekusar-esque abilities. Like there's a hag that I can't quite remember, but it's, I believe, from the Theros block that it does the same thing. Whenever they draw a card, they take damage. Orcish Bowmasters, they're drawing extra cards, having a few wheel effects in there. So I'm not sure if I would take this out because, or I would put this in to that specific one because I think it might run a little bit slower, because I am trying to win by like turn 5 or 6 with that. I think it's, a very... I think it's a very tuned deck as it is, and it would be difficult to get something new in there. Now, I don't know if they're all going to be the same type of cards in here, so I'm going to take a peek. Okay, I think it is. Yep. Mine's Aglow. So this is going to be our other crossover one there. Having very, I was going to say vibey feels to it there, but I don't think that really means a whole lot there. But it kind of almost seems like that meme of where you're looking pretty deeply into the head, like the mind is expanding until it encompasses the whole body, and you're going supernova with it there. But mine's Aglow, 1 blue for a sorcery. Join forces. Starting with you, each player may pay any amount of mana. Each player draws X cards, where X is the total amount of mana paid this way. So again, more of that kind of group hug there, where everybody can put in a little bit of mana and you draw stuff, or, final person might not put any extra mana in and will just, get a bunch of cards without actually having to pay any mana themselves. But what you can see, I mean, the more cards you draw, the more likely you are to get answers there. And, again, the further away you are from the person that's playing it, the more difficult it would be to essentially protect yourself. But, I mean, you could do it early since it is only 1 blue mana. But everyone else would have to have something else. Next up, we're going to get a little bit of featuring Jay Howell. I do not remember anything regarding this set there, so I am unsure, again, if it's just because I haven't, opened these in a bit there, that I've taken my time. And that looks like the bonus card right on top there, so that's a bit funny. So it looks like these might not be in order. Let me just put this one to the back there, because I think it's... Okay, and I think, based off of what I saw there, it looks good. Okay, so I'm not sure if you saw what it was, but I certainly did, so I know what the bonus card is, and it might be decent. I'm not sure if I've gotten that bonus card yet, but starting off, we got a little bit of Agent of Treachery. Big mana card here. So we've got Agent of Treachery, 5 double blue mana, 7 mana total for a 2/3 human rogue. So this has to do something good, right? When it ETBs, you can gain control of target permanent, and at the beginning of your end step, if you control 3 or more permanents you don't own, you draw 3 cards. So, it's a steal on a stick there, and when you can see the guy right there being the human rogue. It's not the dragon there, but it looks like he's stealing a bunch of puppies from the dragon there. So very, very cruel. Looks a little bit like Bob from Bob's Burgers almost for that thief. But, thing that people will do with this is find ways to recast it or put it in a blink deck and you blink the creature and you gain control of another permanent. Big thing about this is it doesn't say when this leaves the battlefield, like they get their thing back. It's as long as this has been played and you targeted something and you get it, you get to keep it until it's destroyed or removed from the field. So if you're able to bounce this, if you're able to blink it and do it again, then you can grab things. It just says gain control of target permanent. You can take control of lands there, so you can try to you can hate on people's lands, you can hate on their creatures, you can steal their commanders, you can steal their combo pieces. Like, it's a very decent card. It's just, it costs a lot. So if you're able to get up there, you're able to cheat it in somehow, you're able to do something, it's good. And then at the beginning of your end step, if you have 3 things, which, you're going to be trying to do with this, you get 3 extra cards. That's pretty nuts there, not going to lie. Up next, we're going to have a little bit of Priest of Forgotten Gods. There, I believe I remember this one here being in the sets that preceded War of the Spark, like Ravnica Allegiance, and there was another one there that I can't quite remember, but I think that it was a rare from that set. We might have another version of this in Secret Lair as well. But 1 in a black, 1/2 human cleric, tap to sack 2 other creatures. Any number of target players each lose 2 life and sack a creature of their choice. You add double black and draw a card. So, I mean, pretty good for an aristocrat style. You get to draw an extra card, you get 2 mana, you sack 2 creatures, so either they got good death triggers, or you're trying to reanimate them. You choose any number of players, they lose life and they have to sack a creature. You get to choose their weakest thing. So you're going to want to try to do this when they don't have a lot of stuff on the board. If you've got a way to untap this with like Voltaic Key, you can do it again, or some other way to go about doing it. That could be pretty good there. All of the different food that they're sacrificing on the table there. The food reminds me very heavily of the eyeless man, the withered man, whatever you would want to call it, from Guillermo del Toro's Pan's Labyrinth, one of my favorite films of all time. Obviously there's no priest there. It's just the monster, and it's the food that they are going to be going after if you take any of it. But just an altar with a lot of food just reminds me of that. So decent card. Up next, we're going to get Treasonous Ogre. Okay, I think Treasonous Ogre is actually supposed to be pretty darn good. It doesn't look great on, like, paper on its own there. 3 in a red for a 2/3 Ogre Shaman with Dethrone, meaning I believe if you attack a player with the most life, that you get a +1/+1 counter on this. I don't think you need to deal damage. I think you just need to attack that way. I believe that's what Dethrone is. But the thing that makes this card so good is its second ability. Pay 3 life and add a red. Now, it's along those lines of, that's a lot of life and you only get 1 red. But the thing is, it doesn't say once a turn. You can do it as many times as you want to. So if you think you can win the game with it, you can do it. If you want to pump it in so that you can play a big spell, you can do that. If you feel like you want to up the number of mana that you have in a X spell, you can do that as well. It's a very sleeper card when it's out there, because you have to be careful of it, but on its own, it's not the most super powerful. But I think it's powerful because you can underrate it, especially if you're going against people that playing against other players that might not realize how devious that it can be. And up next, we have a little bit of Civil Unrest. It looks like a lot of different people fighting amongst themselves with a giant green veiny monster devil in the center there. 4 and a red enchantment, non-token creatures you control have riot. So I believe that means when they ETB, you can either give them haste or a +1/+1 token. Riot being a pretty good ability for creatures to have, especially if you're having more of like an aggressive deck there. Green, red, red, black, green, red, black, Jund, It just seems like a decent one there. You could get a mono red or white red, white red, white red black. Yeah, that's Mardu is pretty good there. If a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it would deal damage to a player, permanent or player, it deals double that damage instead. Oh boy. So you don't even need the Riot there. That second one is also pretty good there. Anything with a +1/+1 on it deals double damage. Big thing to see about that, it says when it would deal damage, not when it would deal combat damage. So that means any time there. Now this makes me think if there would be a way to play this in like a Torwaki the Younger deck and get a +1/+1 counter on Torwaki because, they're in your command zone. You play them, you get a +1/+1 counter on them, and every time that you use its effect, you're dealing, I think, 4 damage. Like, that's insane amount of stuff there for that activation. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I don't remember where this was from. I would assume that maybe this was from a Ravnica set or maybe the Kaladesh sets. But, well, no, it must be from the... It can't be from the Kaladesh because Riot was initially introduced in that Ravnica Allegiance right before War of the Spark era. Like, again, there was one other one that I can't quite remember what its name was, but it was in those ones there, and Kaladesh came out before all of that occurred. So, yeah, this must have come out in there, and I just don't quite remember it. Pretty interesting one there. And it looks like to finish off our blue, black, red is going to be a little bit of Marchesa the Black Rose. A woman there, again, looking like they're from that Bob's Burgers show there because she's got no chin like Linda. So it's just, you've got all these different swords inside this guy, green, red, and blue. I'm not sure what the significance of that is. I mean, blue and red are, colors that they have here, but the green, I don't know if it's trying to go like an RGB type of deal with the different colors that can go into, different electronics there or whatnot. But Marchesa the Black Rose, 1, a blue, a black, and a red, 3/3, legendary human wizard with Dethrone. As I said before, Dethrone, I believe, is you attack the player with the most life. I don't think you have to do damage, just attack them. You get a +1/+1. Other creatures you have Dethrone. Other creatures you control have Dethrone, which I believe stack. If they have multiple instances of Dethrone, then if you attack the player with the most life, you get 2 +1/+1s on them. And whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it dies, you return that card to the battlefield under your control at the beginning of your next end step. Ooh, big reanimator there. So could do that with the Agent of Treachery there. You give it Dethrone with the Marchesa you attack in. You've already stolen something. If they try to block it, then it will come back and you can steal something else, or they have to let it hit you. It's whenever a creature you control. That also includes Marchesa herself because it's not whenever another creature you control. So if she has a +1/+1 counter on her, she must come back as well. It seems like this is a reanimator strategy that it could be hard to get around. Definitely mid-rangey. I don't see this as being something super quick with it, but I think it could be an interesting one. I never got a Marchesa when I opened up the original Conspiracy, and I still need to get Conspiracy 2 because I've never opened up any of that. And I know that there's another, I think it's Queen Marchesa in that one. But I'd really like to get that and maybe some Battle Bond at some point. But our bonus card is a Fate Stitcher. Okay, I'm not sure if we had gotten this one before. 3 and a blue, zombie wizard, 1/2. You may tap or untap another target permanent by tapping this, and you can unearth it for blue. Okay. Now this seems like it could go very well with that Priest of the Old Gods there. With the sack 2 other creatures. You can use this to untap it. Unearth for blue, I believe, makes it come back with a +1/+1 counter on it. And I think that if it would, after you use the Unearth, if it would die, it gets exiled instead, or maybe it gets exiled at end of turn. I can't quite remember, but I mean, this is another one where you could just be, tapping, untapping, bringing it back. It could fit in that deck very easily there. And our other one, which I did see, which is a nice callback to when I started to get back into Magic a bit more, I don't know if I would say aggressively, but have a bigger investment in it and getting more of the sets that were coming out there. It's going to be Rotting Regisaur. So this is from Modern Horizons 1, which was a while ago now. I think it was, was it 2019 maybe? It was around there, 2019. I think it was before 2020 there, but yeah, Rotting Regisaur, one that I saw and I was just like, man, like that's not too bad. 3 and a black, 7/6 zombie dinosaur with at the beginning of your upkeep, you discard a card. I mean, in something like the Angie Falconwrath or other decks that you want to be discarding cards there, I mean, what is it there? Norman Osborn could use this as well. You discard a card and you pay it back for its whatever the, like, not menace there, but I believe it started with another M, mayhem, for its mayhem cost to be able to get it back, which I now understand is very different. I believe that mayhem is not for the turn like I had originally believed. I think that mayhem is more of that consistency of when it goes, you are able to play it. But yeah, I just don't know if mayhem is restricted by timing restrictions. I'd have to look more into that. But Rotting Regisaur, I think, could be an interesting one there as well. And again, I'm not sure if I had gotten either of these, and if I hadn't, that's even better because yeah, I want to get as many different ones as I can for the collection, and those would be very good. So coming up next here, we are going to have something special. It's Everything is on Fire. Now, why is this special? Again, it's been several months, so for anybody that's interested in Secret Lair, you may or may not remember, but there's actually 3 of these, very similar to how the Furbies were done, where there was a non-foil, a foil, and then there was a third one, a raised foil. Now, unfortunately, this one and the next one there, which is titled Vroom, which is meaningful to me in a couple of different ways. I know that the Vroom is more based off of I think it has a little bit to do with Aether Drift, but not exactly. It's just weird like that. But yeah, there's a third set that was sold instead of for like $60, I think is what the Stellar foil, whatever they called that foil for the Furbies was. It was $100 for each one, which was absolutely ridiculous. And unfortunately, I wanted to get it for the collection, and I don't exactly know how much it stacks up. I'm hoping that it can try to break even, but unfortunately, I don't think with Everything on Fire as well as Vroom that they had a lot of impactful cards, which is kind of one of the reasons why I haven't had a lot of Secret Lairs coming up that I will be presenting or reviewing, because December only had 1 Secret Lair potential drop. What I mean by potential drop, well, there was these Monster Hunter ones, and there were several things that were wrong with them, like power looked like it wasn't going to be all that great, value wasn't going to be all that great, and there were spelling mistakes of the property in that Monster Hunter, and it just became a disaster. And so it just poof went away. They never released it. So I mean, they announced that it wouldn't be coming out a week before it was. So they probably printed all of those, lost a lot of money from the printing there. It does a little bit of good knowing that they have some integrity of seeing that, hey, maybe we actually need to regulate more on the secret lair, which I think is good. I hope that they come back with some better Monster Hunter crossover cards, or ones that make a little bit more sense than what they did, because I think that there were ones where it's just like, this is a Leviathan and it's a dragon, or this is a snake and it's a dragon, and just like, it doesn't make any sense. But one thing I'm glad that they didn't continue on is those etched foils that were $100, because unless you've got some really good cards in them, it's really not worth it to get it. But let's take a peek in these base ones here, and then I am going to go in and look at the different sets separately. So we're going to go over Vroom, and we're going to go with these Everything is on Fire before we look at the super special, like, etched raised foiling versions of them. Okay, so starting off with Everything is on Fire, we have a little bit of Chain Lightning, which I think is much better in D&D than it is in Magic. 1 red for a sorcery. Chain Lightning deals 3 damage to any target. Then that player or that permanent's controller may pay 2 red mana. If that player does, they may copy the spell and choose new targets for that. So if someone's not paying red, then it just becomes a lightning bolt at sorcery speed. If they do have red mana, they might do some retribution and attack something of yours, because any target, they can hit your face, they can hit your creatures, they could hit a planeswalker there. So it's just like, it's not quite as good as lightning bolt there. It's slower because it's not instant speed, and your opponents have the possibility of redirecting it back at you if they've got red mana. You could use this in something like Enrage decks with dinosaurs that have it, so that you target your own thing, then pay 2 red and target another thing, get more Enrage stuff off. But that's more of a niche strategy. As for the artwork, I think that it's really, really cool. You've got this sort of weather mage, because I say that because it looks like they've got some sort of storm cloud behind them there, and it's shooting through 2 warriors, both of them. You can't really see the face on this one because of that light, but I'm assuming it's goblin because the ears are very similar, so it's shooting through a couple of goblins there. I think it's very, very nice artwork there. Don't get me wrong, but I just think that some of the cards in these aren't the most powerful. Next up, we got Dragon's Rage Channeler, a really, really good one in, I can't remember if it was in Modern there, because it's cheap and it can get really big there. And absolutely stellar artwork on this one here. This one looks gorgeous. 1 red mana for a 1/1 human shaman that whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you surveil 1. So you cast a non-creature spell, and you can either put that card into the graveyard or on top of your deck. And I think if you put it in your graveyard, you put a +1/+1 counter on this. And Delirium, as long as there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, this creature gets +2/+2, has flying, and attacks each turn if each combat if able. So each combat if able is kind of a demerit, but you get 4 things in your graveyard. It becomes a 3/3 flying for 1 red mana that potentially has higher stats on it as well. Casting non-creature spells, enchantments, instants, sorceries. If you cast an instant or sorcery, they're already going to your graveyard there. Fetch lands will add a land in there as well. So it's like you can get 4 in there really quickly if you really, really want to. So this and all subsequent ones that you play, if you've got those 4 card types in your graveyard, are 3/3 flyers for 1 mana, which seems very reminiscent to Serra Ascendant. That was if you had 30 or more life, it gets +4/+4 and flying, and I think it's a 1/1 lifelinker I don't think it gains lifelink there, but for 1 mana, you get a 5/5 flying lifelinker. Good. It's a little bit harder to get to 30 life in most formats than it is to get 4 cards in your graveyard there. So Dragon's Rage Channeler, very, very good addition to this one here. Probably the best one. We also get a little bit of Lava Spike there. Not quite as much of a fan of this artwork here, but, you know, I think it's very interesting. You've got kind of this orcish-looking lady throwing down, like stomping into cooled magma to have hot magma pour up so that she can control it with a lava spike there. Got a big punk vibe to her. 1 red for a sorcery arcane. It deals 3 damage to target player or planeswalker. Oh, okay. I thought lava spike was 1 damage there. Okay, so it's very similar to lightning bolt and chain lightning. It's just instead of lightning bolt, this is a sorcery. It's also arcane, which means that there are other things that you can splice onto arcane to give them additional effects there, which isn't a great mechanic there, or wasn't very useful. I could see it being good if, you know, they made it overpowered if they wanted to. But yeah, I mean, it's like a slow lightning bolt if you really, really wanted it. And up next, we've got a little bit of Rift Bolt. 2 and a red for a sorcery that deals 3 damage to any target, or suspend 1 red mana. So this is a slow lightning bolt for 2 extra mana, or it's a lightning bolt that you essentially play at your upkeep, untap, upkeep. Yeah, upkeep is when you will remove a time counter. So it's a lightning bolt that is delayed by a turn there. So it's interesting there, to say the least. You know, it just feels like this is a lot of lightning bolts there, with the Dragon Rage Channeler as the one extra thing that you've got in there. I wonder if Arcane goes in with the different card types there. I'm not sure about that, but you've got some sort of wizard here that's shooting off this bolt of fire energy off into the foreground here. Yeah, it seems fine there. It's a little bit slow. And we also have a little bit of Skewer the Critics there. Another lightning bolt-esque ability. 3 and a red, very similar to Rift Bolt, with Spectacle red instead. So I believe Spectacle is... I'm trying to remember if it's based off of if you've played another spell this turn. I think that might be what it is. If you've cast another spell this turn, you can pay it for its spectacle cost. I don't believe that it's if your opponent has taken damage. I think that's something else there. But it's one of those two. But yeah, you know, it's another slow lightning bolt, 3 damage to any target for 3 mana, just like Rift Bolt. Instead of waiting until next turn, you either have to deal damage or play another spell. Again, I can't remember which one is which, but, you know, it's another one there. You've got a woman wreathed in fire there. Looks like maybe she's getting some sort of lava javelin there, and we've got like a face going on right here, where you can see someone is burning up, which are probably the critics there, of some sort of performance, and she's got some bells on her ankles, so maybe some sort of dancer. My assumption, she's got a mask on, maybe a little bit of a masquerade party there, and I don't know if we've got similar cards, but no, we do not. Havengul Lich, I have not seen this one either. Man, if we indeed have not gotten these before, we're getting some good ones that we haven't seen here. 3, a blue and a black for a 4/4 zombie wizard with 1 mana. You may cast target creature card in a graveyard this turn. When you cast it this turn, this creature gains all activated abilities of that card until end of turn. Oh, that's kind of cool there. You can cast a creature card in any graveyard, and then when you cast it, this creature also gains all of its activated abilities there. Huh. And only until the end of the turn. But if you were playing this in like a Grixis deck where you add in, where you have blue, black, and red, you could reanimate Vivi, give this its ability. You get 4 mana, which is the cost that it would be to pay for Vivi. So I guess maybe not. Cauldron is still obviously the best option for it, but I wonder which activated abilities. Like Fate Stitcher, I could see, being able to tap or untap something. I'd have to think of what would be another good ability to copy, but I'm glad that we're getting some cool, neat ones there that I haven't seen before. And Scare the Critics, another Rotting Regisaur, so it looks like we're doubling up on that one there. But hey, I mean, if it indeed was not one that we had, getting duplicates on that one isn't the worst thing to see. Plus, I mean, hey, it's we got 2 new ones there. Fate Stitcher seems pretty neato, and the Havenghoul Lich I think could be pretty good. I just have to figure out what would be a good one there. Like maybe even just in a zombie deck there, because we've gotten a few zombie decks. I'm sure that I could find something in there. Up next, we're going to go into our Varoom, seeing what is going to be going on with these guys here. Again, this is our other one that had the special raised foil with a $100 Secret Lair bundle. Again, it looks like they didn't do these well because this one, again, has the bonus card on top. So I saw what it is. You might have seen what it is, but I'm going to put it on the bottom there. And if you haven't seen it, then you can be surprised. We've got our foiling there. So we'll go like this. And we're going to start off with some Lava Dart. Okay, so this is what I was thinking Lava Spike was going to be. I thought it was this Lava Dart. 1 red for an instant that deals 1 damage to any target. Flashback cost, you sacrifice a mountain. So flashback cost is if it would go to the graveyard after you play it, you can pay its flashback cost and instead it goes back to your hand. So what you could do is if you've got a lot of mana, you can pay a red. And if that red is is from a mountain, you can sack that mountain that you played from to play Lava Dart again. So what you can then keep on doing is repeating that over and over and over again. They're sacrificing all of your stuff to deal 1 damage to any target. Now I think that this is something that I've seen in like a Pauper deck before. Obviously it's rare here because all of the Secret Lair cards are either rare or mythic. They never put it to a lower rarity, but I think that this is a common card in one set there, or at least one set. So being able to do that, it's like if you've got enough mountains, you could ping someone down with the 1 and the 1 and the 1 and the 1 to just try to get them out of the game there. Lava Dart here, I mean, it looks like they've been attacked from behind. You've got the Lava Dart spitting out here, and you've got it up front, so it looks like something got them from behind. This mask that they had on to cover up some sort of grisly thing because they've got all of these skull patterns on their body there, so maybe some sort of necromancer that they're getting put down. And maybe the spiral is supposed to indicate that it can be done again and again. Not sure, because it doesn't have multiple holes, but I mean, the 1 hole makes it seem like, hey, 1 damage there, though it does look like it's dealing a whole lot more damage. Up next, we've got Monastery Swift Spear. Okay, another one that was very, very good in, I know, Standard during its stay. I don't know if it really got into Modern at all. 1 red mana for a 1/2 human monk with prowess and haste. Now, the big thing about it is this is basically what got created from Corey Steelcutter. Before Corey Steelcutter got banned there. It would, instead of putting out a 1/2, it would put out a 1/1, but still, it was a new body that it was putting out there, so it was a very, very good one there, especially since it also gave a +1/+1 stat line to it there. So, yeah, Monastery Swift Spear always seemed very good when it was out. If I was going to make a 60-card deck, and one of the cards that I'd probably try to base one of them off of. there. And also just like really, really nifty artwork there. I'm sorry, I didn't really showcase that there, but we've got a little bit like a, almost like a Japanese monster, it looks like there, almost kind of like a Rashomon. And you've got the character in this kind of like forced perspective of hitting them really, really hard with a spear and just trying to deal a whole lot of damage, it seems. And they've got some more like monk artifacts almost on the sides there. And next up, we're going to have a little bit of Soul Scar Mage. 1 red for a 1/2 human wizard with prowess. Another prowess. If a source you control would deal non-combat damage to a creature an opponent controls, put that many -1/-1 counters on that creature instead. Okay, Soul Scar Mage seems very, very good with red decks here because it helps to get around indestructible, because one of the things that messes up with like the non-combat damage there that a lot of red spells do is if something is indestructible, you can't get around it. It doesn't keep damage onto it there. And the -1/-1 counters just helps a whole lot because it's like, oh man, I deal 3 damage to this creature. And instead, you could be like, oh, I'm going to deal 3 -1/-1 counters on this creature instead. Then it also becomes weaker. So it might not only kill them with -1/-1s, because that gets around indestructibility, because if toughness just reaches 0, it dies even if it is indestructible. So really, really cool creature. And it's this kind of badass woman with a kitsune mask on a motorcycle there. Yeah, very much a Vroom type that I would imagine for that there. Really, really cool one there. I like that. Probably the big one of this particular set, Underworld Breach. A card that I think has been potentially banned in places. I know that it's an big combo piece in different decks there, so you know, having that is nice. You've got all of these ghosts that look like they're trying to escape from their underworld. We're looking kind of the perspective from within the underworld because we're looking up at the moon, and they're all kind of going in a torrent out into a city, probably to wreak some sort of havoc. 1 and a red, enchantment. Each non-land card in your graveyard has escape. The escape cost is equal to the card's mana cost plus exile 3 other cards from your graveyard. At the beginning of your end step, sack this permanent. So, you know, it's only good for 1 turn, but that could be all that you need. You know, if you've got something like, I don't know, Mox Diamond, or Lotus Petal, you know, lots of different of those lotuses, you know, things that you are really cheap to play or are just 0 mana to play, and all you have to do is just exile some cards and put it out there. This can be a very, very powerful card if used in the right way. And another really kind of cool card here, Mishra's Bauble, another one of those that has 0, and, you know, if you need to bring something back like an artifact, here's a way to do it. 0 mana artifact with tap to sack this artifact. Look at the top card of target player's library. Draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. So it's essentially a draw 1 for 0 mana. Like, it replaces itself for nothing. You don't have to spend any mana. And you could potentially get this back for Underworld Breach if you really, really wanted to there. But I'm trying to figure out this artwork. It definitely looks like this chain that it's on is definitely the bauble, but it looks like there's some sort of person there that they might be having a fight. I'm not too certain what this is, what is going on, but you know, our first bonus card here is going to be another Fate Stitcher. So it looks like we're getting a little bit of duplication there. Again, if that's what it's going to be, of just, you know, Fate Stitcher, Rotting Regisaur, and Havengul Lich, because I did see this one of how it was packaged there. So we did end up doubling up on all of our ones so far, which were in that one and these. Yeah. So, just interesting that they were ending up like that. But hey, again, I don't think that I had any of them there. So, it was just a neat little one to be able to get. Now, like I said, we did get the extra ones there. So we'll see. Is this worth $100 there? Oh, it's definitely harder to open, I can say that. So did they pack it better? They have it behind. That's very, very weird. The stock of this feels... Yeah, the stock of this... I mean, I'll look for another Everything That's on Fire. Yeah. I don't know if you'd be able to see it, but it's like the coloring looks slightly different. Like this has a little bit more yellowing than this does, but this wasn't on top or in the sun or anything. This feels a lot thicker than this is. Like the stock feels a whole lot better, which, I mean, if you're going to have something that's $100, you definitely should. It's still got the thank you for being part of Secret Lair, but it's got not the paper, but a plastic one here. Oh, I don't even need to do that. It's got a little pull tab for us, which, did not go over very well, but I'll just open it up like this, and we will see how this differs. So again, we've got a little bit of chain lightning, which honestly looks pretty cool. I'm not entirely sure how good that you'll be able to see it there, but the lightning effect that the raised foiling is on really pops out a whole lot more. Obviously, the borders on everything does as well. Name, of course, they're on a much more blacker background. This is darker down here, so you can't quite see as much of that art. The ribbon on this is also kind of a nice raised foil. The mana symbol is in gold as well, which not certain that that's my favorite, just because it's a little bit easier to look at it and be like, oh, red, but now you actually have to look at it and be like, what mana symbol is that? So, it seems like a decent one there. Dragon Rage Channeler, this one looks really nice as well, though not quite as nice. Like, I think I like this artwork the best of the ones that we had for this so far. However, the thing that I'm not as fond of is that it doesn't have the same quite as nice popping effects that the gold did in the lightning here. It's just like, yes, I see a lot of the raised foiling on, let's see here, not on that, but kind of on the character themselves. Big thing that you can notice the difference here is the wing goes behind the text box here, but it goes in front of the text box there. So it interrupts it a little bit more. The character pops out a bit more because they've raised it there. Kind of looks a little bit like Deadpool with the eyes there, but the body is a bit more defined. The blacks in the darker spots, like underneath the clothing there, and just kind of in the crevices of where the shadows are, a lot more defined there. So I think it makes it pop out a little bit more, just not quite as much as the other one. Next up, we've got the lava spike here, which brings up the lava a whole lot there. Let's see here. Yeah, it makes it seem a little bit brighter. Same thing, the hair of this orc punk girl kind of goes in front of that frame that they have there. The lava is a little bit raised as well. Not so much the hand, but the hair feels like it pops a little bit more. Again, text boxes are a little bit more so there, and instead of this like yellowish gold that like is actual gold, more gold there, like very aligning with this here. I can't remember. I don't think that there's a mythic in this set, but it'd be interesting to see how they interpret that symbol there. Up next, we've got Rift Bowl, and that has definitely some good pop to it there. Again, I can't really know if you can see it all that well, but basically all of the flames there have like a nice extra pop to it that, you know, defines it a lot more from the dark background, because it's like, especially this right here, this sort of area, it really brings it up. It defines the character a little bit more from that little black that is around them there. This has like the little sparks and whatnot that are coming up through there. So I guess the big thing that I see here is it goes in front, but because they don't have that red there, it's essentially making it like a window to it instead of like see-through. So like the sparks are in front of us, even though they were behind here and they're not connected directly to the artwork there. Okay, you know, pops out a whole lot. And then Skewer the Critics. Oh man, this one also has, you know, the entire woman there. Essentially everything that is not the bells and is not black has really been popped out more. So this is probably, I would say, the best of the probably the best of all of these ones that they've had, just with how it really pops out and how they've got the different colors defined on it there. This one, they did the opposite. They defined the black, or different from the previous one, but very similar to the Dragon Rage Channeler, where they made the darks pop a lot more, like around her chest and around her feet and the bells area there, where the black is just coming from shadowed sections of the flames there. Face is not much more defined. It's not a raised portion there. It's really just her that's raised, and I think because that she's raised so much that it also makes the spear that she has in her hand a little bit more defined as well. But of course, you know, it's also, you know, her hand is going through the frame as well as the spear itself. You know, a very, very nice one there. And looks like we're going on a bonus card of another Havenghoul Lich there. So it looks like Havenghoul Lich is kind of one of those nice ones that you will see through these here. Maybe it was a common one for this. Again, I did not open these up for a while, so I don't know how common certain ones are in the different secret layers, because I think that's how some of them go, is that they release certain artworks there. Again, this one, sturdier stock, because they don't want it to bend and having to, you know, print up more or anything like that. Go for our pull tab. And again, the pull tabs don't really work because I don't want to damage the cards at all, so I'm not going to try to pull it really hard here. So starting off here, we've got Lava Dart, and it looks like they've really done more of the blacks. They really had the black as the more raised foil instead of the red. So they've gone actually for that inverse there of making more black. So they've made it seem like this is a bit more devastating because they've chipped off his shoulder there. The cloak darkness is a lot more, so it looks like his face is a little bit more eroded there. So that's kind of what I see from the Lava Dart there. Honestly, you know, it looks really, really nice on it there. Monastery Swift Spear. So it looks like they are taking a bit more of the inverse. The blacks here are very much more, are the raised portions here above the gate, the clothing, the mask. You just kind of get a lot more definition to the whites and the reds because the black is so raised up. It does make all of the non-black parts a little bit thinner just because they do have that raised portion there. The bottom of his mouth, of this gate's mouth, as well as this like strike upwards here, is a lot more defined in this one as well. They do not have the gold. That is interesting because I don't think, yeah, this one didn't have the gold as well. So they also just made them different in general. Up next, we have a little bit of the Soul Scar Mage, and again, defining a lot more of that black, not having that same window there, so we don't see that going through. But yeah, we see a lot more of those blacks. So in the back and the bike, so the character herself is not quite popping so much as the background and the bikes are. So again, still think that this is really, really cool artwork there to have all of that there. She still looks really awesome. Up next, we're getting a little bit of that Underworld Breach there, and we have a bit more of kind of the exterior of the card kind of popping here with this black, as well as the interior going in the center here, to make everything look like it's a little bit more vibrant. That's the one thing. It's like these raised foils make them look a little bit more vibrant. The issue is I don't think that it's like $60 extra worth of value to it there. I don't think that it's $60 worth more of materials either. So that's why it's like, I don't think it's necessarily worth it, but, you know, I want it for the collection. Mishra's Bauble, there's a whole lot of black on here. You can distinctly see where the gray is on this for it. And yeah, it makes it pop out more here. Again, I feel like this is some character or maybe a snake creature that is like shooting at its tongue, where this thing was around its neck there. Not too certain, but I mean, it still looks nifty there. And I think I saw the gold of Haven Ghoul Lich. Yep. So we ended up getting double Haven Ghoul Lich for this. I mean, hopefully it's one of the better ones because it came in both of those there. But yeah, I mean, I think that the raised foiling of both sets were nice. They really helped make the pictures pop more. Do I think that there's $60 extra worth? Absolutely not. And again, one of the reasons why I'm completely glad that that did not come back. Same thing with the which ones that I've done before, where it was the foils were $30. Sorry, the non-foils were 30 and then the foils were 60. And it's just like, no, it's not worth that. So same thing. I know that they're trying to figure it out. I think that's the best one that they've done is with the Furby ones, where it's the non-foils are 30, the foils are 40, and then like the super special ones are 60. It's like, yeah, the super special ones, like if you want to put that effort, 60 seems like a decent price. It's a little bit much for, you know, 4 to 6, potentially 7 pieces of cardboard there, but you know, it's a lot better than 100, you know, and if they're going to make it a bit more rare there. So up next, we're going to go with some lands here, a little bit of flower power, kind of toned down a little bit from there, which feels weird because this has, again, feeling like the better cardstock compared to what those ones have right there. So that's just, or the like non-foil and foils there. So it's just a little bit weird to kind of feel that and be like, you know, that's a little bit different there. All right, now these flower powers. I ended up having to get these from a different source because I did not know they were coming out, and so I did not get them for $1 like they were originally intended. So I'm not going to put it down as $1. I'm going to put it down as probably more normal price here, or maybe like 15 and 20 bucks or something like that, because we are only getting half the amount of land. So starting off with a little bit of plains there. All of these are going to be very whimsical and whatnot there. Lots of bright colors. You've got a fox in the background. You've got a yellow bird, maybe like a woodstock going around in the background there. You know, secret Charlie Brown type of Peanuts crossover that's hidden, but not really. Both of those trees have some smiling faces. You've got maybe a bear or another type of, you know, mammal that's sleeping in that tree. You've got something else that's over here, maybe like a rabbit. The trees have these kind of weird openings to it there. Not entirely sure, but yeah, you know, very colorful. Got a lot of flowers in it too, for its namesake. Islands here. Yep, we got an island. A lot more palm and tropical vibes there. You've got like a parrot there, maybe closer to a toucan there. You've got fish swimming. You've got crustaceans out on the ground there. You've got like a cockatoo in the yellow here, and you've got this sort of pathway going from this top of this mountain all the way down. The palm trees have little smiling faces on their coconuts, and a little bit more some flowers, but not quite as much as the plains, which kind of makes a little bit of sense there. Up next for our swamps there, a little bit dark, definitely swampy. Got some like eel-looking things, some snakes, crocodiles, alligators, some other things that are hiding out in the trees. There are some eyes, something over here in the log. You got an owl in the top right-hand corner there. Mushrooms. So not really any flowers per se, but different types of flora that kind of thrive in those swampy areas, as well as the mushrooms, which I'm assuming are going to take the place of those there. Mountains here, got a little, big mountain, especially with this one that has a hole in the center of it for some reason. Very fanciful with the dragon flying around the top there, but the dragon is actually the only animal that we see here. We have a lot of trees with faces on this one, and some flowers growing as well at the base. Nothing up on the mountain per se, but big rainbow going through it. Again, another very colorful one. The swamp probably, being the black land, is going to have the least amount of colors, but it has a lot of different of these like blues and purples and magentas, and there is a little bit of black in there, but it's a lot of purple in it there, which is, I like that they do that with the swamps instead of making them like pure black. And lastly, we got a little bit of forest here. A lot of trees there. Kind of makes sense. Some mushrooms, butterflies, things that are sleeping in the trees, raccoon popping out of some hinge in the forest for some reason there. Other things that are just hiding out in the trees there. Some flowers. Just a little bit of everything there. Some of the vines going around the different letters there in the forest. So, nifty little one there, and maybe, I don't know, a colorless land, command tower. Oh no, we're getting some more of these. Okay, so another plains, which I'm trying to remember. I think I have a plains already. I'm pretty sure I have forest and not forest. I think I have island and mountain. So a swamp or a forest would be really, really cool to get here, and this one here for, and a mountain. Okay, I can't remember which ones I have a lot of. It might be the mountains. I might actually just sell a couple of the mountains that I have to try to get the other two, just so that I can get my full complete set. But it's just weird that I've gotten so many of like the certain ones and I've skipped over them after opening so many with that particular one in it. I really like the designs, and I'd really like to be able to get some of the other ones if I'm able to. But, these lands are very colorful there. I believe that you could have only gotten one apiece because they were only $1 each. But, it'll be nice if I want to put them into something a little bit more fanciful there, then I can substitute some of those lands in. Speaking of fanciful, the last one we're going to do, since this is running a little bit longer than I had originally intended, and we've got the Secret Lair Commander Precon deck. I just want to get through this and kind of wrap this one up, and we'll do the Commander deck as its own separate entry there. But we've got our little extra life, and I did get another one of these to try to help, support the cause there, as well as, it's got some nifty stuff. Thank you for being part of Secret Lair program of Extra Life. I really like this version here. I think that the the Extra Lives are really, really cool, whether they're having the designs from the kids, or it was the Sheldon Spellbook, I think, one year. We had the Comic Sans versions. We had the left-handed cards. They just, I think, make them into almost unsets without making them an actual unset, which I think is just a really cool, neat thing to be able to do. But yes, this had a few things that I was interested in, so getting, an extra one not only helped the extra life, but, also helps out with me as well. So starting off with a little bit of green sleeves, Marrow Sorcerer. I think that this might have been from a Dominaria set, and I don't think I have it. 3 and double green for a star legendary elemental with protection from planeswalkers and wizards. So can't target with a planeswalker, and it's got protection from those wizardy boys too. Its power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control. Okay, so very similar to Multani, gets bigger the more lands that you have. And landfall, whenever a land you control ETBs, you create a 3/3 green badger creature token. Okay, so, get more lands in there and you get more creatures. I could see this as being another card that I substitute into that Jund deck for the Edge of Eternities, because you get this out there and you're playing lands from your graveyard, and now you're getting, and if you're able to play 2 or 3 lands per turn, you're getting 2 or 3 3/3 badgers. That could be pretty decent. Anything that's helping you get a lot of ramp or whatnot can help you out with this one here. It's legendary, so you can have it as your commander. You're going to be stuck in green only, so, have to play around a little bit more with that. But, it's an interesting one. You could probably also, with this one there, probably have something like Toph to be able to have some earthbent lands, so you play the lands and then they also are going to become creatures and whatnot. That could be interesting. And then we also are going to have Polyraptor. This one we see a lot more of that claymation design to it there that didn't really see quite as much with this, but we see it a lot more here. Very expensive dino, 6 and double green for a 5/5 dinosaur with Enrage. So, like I had talked about with some of those ones, like the Chain Lightning to do some Enrage, whenever this creature is dealt damage, create a token that's a copy of this creature. So you got enough, you can deal 3 damage to this. It creates a token copy of itself. You pay the extra 2 red mana, you deal 3 damage to the copy, and it makes a copy of itself. So, it does all of that, and I believe if it makes a copy of itself, I believe copies all of the counters on it. So I believe that if it has like a trample counter or a flying counter or +1/+1 counters, I think that it copies those, but I could be wrong. But I mean, that's why it's so expensive. It's like you can just get another 5/5 that has the potential of duplicating itself. Additionally, it's hard to get rid of it, because if you block it and you're like, I'm going to kill it by blocking it, well, you just dealt damage to it, so it creates another copy of itself. And if you don't kill it, well, now you've got 2 of them to come after you. So yeah, it can be a little bit of a dangerous dino. Next up, we have a really, really good one here as well, Academy Manufacturer. Again, a little bit more of that claymation style can be seen here, especially with the goblet there and the sandwich. A bunch of it is all just that claymation of it. 3 mana for a 1/3 artifact creature assembly worker. If you would create a clue, food, or treasure, instead create one of each. So you're like, man, I'm creating a lot of food tokens with like Iroh. You could be like, I'm going to have this Academy Manufacturer, and I make a food, but I'm also going to make a clue and a treasure token there. It doesn't double what you have. Like, there are ways to double tokens that you get there, but just to be able to create a whole lot of them there by getting one of these artifact tokens, you get 3, which if you got something that, you need to sacrifice an artifact to get something, like if you've got Krark Clan Ironworks and you're like, man, I don't need that clue or that food, but I like that treasure, then it's like, okay, you created a clue or food and, you got the other 2, then you can sack 2 of those things to Krark Clan Ironworks, get 4 colorless mana, and then you've got 1 colored mana for your treasure token. If you've got another way to, spend the 4 colorless mana to create more on like an activated ability or something, then you're just like, yeah, I'm going to produce all of this stuff, keep on sacking them and getting infinite mana that way. Like, this is a very, very good card. Up next, an old powerhouse, Wormcoil Engine, looking absolutely dastardly in all of its different colors and glory here. Now, we don't see quite as much of the 2 duplicate serpents that are winding around themselves to make the Wormcoil Engine. What do I mean by that? Well, if you haven't heard of it, it's a 6 mana, 6/6 artifact Phyrexian Worm with Death Touch and Lifelink that when it dies, it creates a 3/3 colorless Phyrexian Worm artifact creature token with Death Touch and a 3/3 colorless Phyrexian Worm artifact creature token with Lifelink. So it halves its power and toughness and creates 2 creatures with each of those halves. One gets Lifelink, the other gets Death Touch there. And in the original artwork, it just looks like 2 different art of these like artifact creature token that are winding together, and there were some really nifty creature tokens that had both of them, which I'm a bit surprised that, this talks about clues, food, and treasures and doesn't has it there, which now that I realize I'm looking at this, it's got a sandwich in one hand, that's food. It's got a magnifying glass in one hand, that's a clue, and it's got a goblet here, which is its treasure. So really nice. But this, I don't see like the 2 things winding around with each other. So I think that this is really cool and colorful. It just doesn't have quite the same impact as kind of the original one looked like because of those 2 that looked like they were combining together. And for our final one here, we are going to get a nice little Scoot Swarm here. With all of these little scoots or bunnies or some other things that are underneath them. So a little small guy here at, start here, 2 and a green for a 1/1 insect, 3 mana for a 1/1. What? But when it has a landfall, whenever a land you control ETBs, you create a 1/1 green insect creature token. Okay. So you get a little extra if you pay more guys. But if you control 6 or more lands, you instead create a token that's a copy of this creature. So, you get, another 1/1, just like you normally would, but you get another one of these guys. So if you play a land the next turn, or if you crack a fetch land and you get another land, then you're instead creating 2 more guys because you've got 2 ones that create copies. So you got something that goes good with getting more powerful number of creatures you control, or if you control creatures of the same type, have their power go up, or whenever another creature type of the same one comes in, like another insect, it boosts all of your stuff up there. There are different ways to make that very powerful. And I don't think I would have wanted to finish off with anything. Maybe the commander deck if there was a bit more time there, but I don't want to run too long on this one. And, just kind of finish up there with a little bit of the extra life and kind of get that there. Overall, interesting stuff. I know I can see why the pencil Superdrop wasn't the most exciting. It had, these are extra, so these don't necessarily count. But the secret layer for the pencil Superdrop was lands, which are okay. That these aren't like the best lands there, so they're good artwork, but not ones that I'm actively thinking like, man, I want to play with these. These were some decent group hug cards. There was some kind of definitely some interesting stuff in here, and I think that this is probably one of the better ones that they had dropped here. But I think that probably these $100 secret layers were probably the more controversial section. And like I said, this deck here was also included, but I'm going to save that for another time. So overall, it's nice. Unfortunately, kept on getting some more lands, though. I will take the plains if it is a copy. I think I would have preferred another plains or an island instead of the mountain. We got a bunch of these Havengul Liches, which I didn't get before. Don't think I got these Rotting Regisaurs or these Fate Stitchers, so getting a couple of those is nice as well. But overall, kind of nifty there. Not my favorite secret lair, but decent enough. We'll get into this one next time, see how good this one is, because I think this has a Morophon as commander there. So we got a 5-color deck again that we're going to be basing off of. But we'll save that to next time, make you want to come back for another one, which I do hope that you will. And until you do come back for another one, please take care of yourself. Have a wonderful afternoon, evening, or night. I'll see you next time.